Shalom Aleichem, guten Abend, good evening to everyone. And we're here with our weekly story before we start the Shir and the Dvar Malchus. And this week, as if it was not clear or understood till now, all of a sudden we're finding out that that Eretz Yisrael, Israel, and the Jewish nation in general don't really have that many friends, to say the least. Not only don't we not have friends, but even those that claim to be our friends, they really don't understand us. They don't have the ability to intellectually come and see us on eye level in order to understand what we're going through, what kind of an enemy we're facing. And if it was only one enemy, that would be good, perhaps. No enemies are even better. But we're talking about seven different fronts all over the world. So when we speak about the concept of those that care about us and those that really want to be there to support us, even those countries are really not there. And the question is, what's going on? How come no one understands us? How come no one has the the devotion to be with us hand in hand to the very end? And one of the examples is, if anyone heard, the United States, that had their wonderful aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean Sea in order to go and to supervise, not kashrus wise, but in order to supervise security wise what's going on in the Middle East, and especially here by us in Eretz Yisrael. They all of a sudden made a decision that they're moving out their aircraft carrier, just as Lebanon and the Hezbollah, Yemach Shemam Zichram, everything is getting hot. Does anyone understand? No one understands. Then there was a concept that someone brought across my table in regard to the condemnations of the UN against different countries for not behaving, mistreating their people, not conducting their lives according to the way human beings are supposed to conduct their lives. And if we go into the numbers, not to go into all the countries, but just like maybe a few. If we're talking about Iran, the ones that are terrible as far as their conduct is concerned in atomic energy, as far as how they treat their people, the women, how many times were they condemned? 6 times during the last 8 years, mind you. And if we're talking about North Korea, last 8 years, they were condemned 8 times. And if we're talking about an even larger nation like Russia, how many times were they condemned? 23 times in the last 8 years. What about little bitty Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel? How many times in the last 8 years were we condemned? Does anyone know? 141 times. That's 1,000% more than any other country in the world. 141 times in the last 8 years. Where does this come off? People don't understand us. Why are we so unpopular in the world? The reason that we're unpopular in the world is because we have a message that people don't understand. We represent something that is different from the entire world. And when the world sees that we are different, we're not like everyone else, we're not like all the United Nations, so they start condemning because they don't know how to go into to cope with something that is different, that is completely from another planet. This is what we're talking about in Eretz Yisrael. And this is how we're talking about the friends that we have in the world. It's a story. It's actually a children's story about a person The story is called One and a Half Friends. Maybe someone heard it, maybe not, but it's interesting. We'll just repeat it right now, real quick. In the story, so there's a child that comes home from school, and he says, "Dad, I am the most popular person in my class. Everyone loves me. Everyone is my friend." His father says, "Really? It's very interesting. You know how many friends I have?" He says, "No." He says, "I have one and a half friends." Son looks, "What? I'm your son. I have all the friends in the world, and you only have one and a half?" So he says, "How can it be?" So he says, "Look, we'll prove it. Here, go to the butcher and take the blood of an animal, smear it on your clothes, and then I want you to go to all your great friends and tell them that you got into a fight, you got into an argument, and there was a fist fight, and you injured someone, and the police is searching for you. Go to each one of your friends and see how they treat you." He went to the first friend, and the friend says, "Well, listen, he sees all the blood on his clothes. I'll ask my father." The father says, "What, are you crazy? The police is searching for him. They're going to go and say that we're accomplices to his crime. No, no way. We can't keep him here." And that's the way it was by each and every friend of this young boy. He comes back to his father and he says, "Dad, what'd you do to me? I don't have any friends." So the father says, "Aha, okay. Now go to my one and a half friends. And I want you to go to my half friend first." He says, "Okay." He goes to his father's half friend, as he's called, and he tells the half friend the story. And he says, "Oh, wow. And the police is searching for you. Okay, listen." He points down to the door to the cellar. He says, go down there and hide. 3, 4, 5 days pass, and then he hears a knock on the door. His father's half friend comes and says, "Listen, I'm very sorry, but I have to ask you to leave." He says, "Why?" He says, "Well, it's very simple. You see, the police have detectives, and they're going to go and they're going to investigate. And sooner or later, they're going to find that I'm harboring you in my basement. I can't take responsibility for such a thing. So I need you to leave." Okay. Now the child goes to the one friend that his father has. Comes to the one friend, he tells him the story, he sees the blood, he says, "Get down into my cellar." He goes into the cellar, and the child stays there for as long as he needs, until, so to speak, until matters calm down. But then the son understood what a real friend is. Comes back to his father, and he tells him the story, and his father says, "Halavai, you'll have one friend. Halavai, you'll have one half of a friend that is really committed and devoted to you, like the friends that I have." And this is what we're talking about when we're talking about Eretz Yisrael. But when we're talking about the actual battle, the war, there was a story. It's the shliach in Haifa. He's married to my niece, Rabbi Shlomo Kupchik, and he told the following story. There was a family, and this family, they have a son fighting in Gaza, in Aza, and they came to Rabbi Kupchik and they said, "Listen, we really want to go and we want to do something to help our son, but we're not going out into battle. But what can we do?" So they asked for a bracha from the Rebbe in the Igros Kodesh, the Rebbe's letters, and the Rebbe's answer was that they should see to it that as many people should put on tefillin. It says that when the non-Jews, when the Gentiles see a Jew with tefillin on, it says "V'yaru mimeka," that it casts fear upon our enemies. okay, what are we supposed to do? I mean, we have I have another son, but he's not bar mitzvah yet, and but he's learning in the high school. He's learning in junior high. So so the shliach said, listen, I'll go down there and I'll put tefillin on with the students, and this will tell them is in the merit of all the soldiers and also your son. The woman started to hem and to haw. Listen, I don't know, go to my son's school, start putting on tefillin. I have to ask permission. Fine, ask permission. And when you get the permission, so tell me, and then I'll be more than happy to go down to put tefillin on the students. The mother goes to the principal. She tells the principal the idea, and it's needless to say, we're talking about Haifa. Even today, Haifa is called Ir HaAduma. It's the red city, because they were the original core of people that live in that settled in Haifa were actual communists, and let alone apparently this principal. She also had the communist blood surging in her, and she says it's out of the question. We can't have such a thing. They'll accuse us of forcing religion down the throats of our students. Impossible. No, I'm very sorry. And so she went back to Rabbi Kupchik, and she told Rabbi Kupchik that it's not going to happen. So Rabbi Kupchik says, you don't understand. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is so relevant. You don't know how, when the Rebbe gives an answer to someone's question, how important it is for the individual and for the topic, for the matter that's being asked a blessing for. I think you have to go back and you have to press the topic, and you have to make sure that it goes through. Then the woman, she didn't feel comfortable, but at the end she went back and she said, listen, it's not just going on the putting on tefillin. This is for my own son's well-being. I need this to happen. And it's for the well-being of all the soldiers in battle, and it's for all the injured in the hospitals, and for all the hostages to be returned. And something clicked in the principal's head, in the principal's mind, when she heard everything together, and the mother really coming hard and hammering her point. And she says, you know what? Listen, if a person wants to come, he could come in the break. He can, but he has to stand outside the gates of the school. He can't come inside the gates. Mother told Rabbi Kupchik. Rabbi Kupchik said, no problem. I'll stand outside the gate with a table and tefillin. Not a problem at all. And he went and he did the mitzvah tefillin. Tens and tens of students put on tefillin that day. And then he didn't hear again from this mother until a few weeks later. And she goes and she calls Rabbi Kupchik, and she says, you don't know what kind of a miracle occurred, what kind of a miracle happened just now. With this whole ordeal, everything that we were talking about. And he says, what happened? She says, the week after you went and you put tefillin on all the students in the high school, the junior high school, so my son called up. And he didn't call up immediately after this happened because he didn't want to put me in shock. But the week afterwards, he called me, and he tells me, Mom, you won't believe what happened. So she says, what? Are you okay? He says, yes. He says, Baruch Hashem. He says, thank God. He wasn't known to go into to express himself in that manner of thanking Hashem, but he says, Baruch Hashem, I'm okay. She says, what happened? He says, well, we were in Gaza, in one of the very heavily infested areas of the Hamas, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, they ambushed us and they started shooting, and it was like really bad. But at the end, we were able to overcome, and we mowed them down. We totally eliminated them. But in the course of protecting ourselves and attacking back, so the son says there was a bullet that hit him. The mother said, "What? Were you in the hospital?" And he says, "No, no, mom, calm down, calm down. It's okay." He says, "What? What? But were you hit?" He says, "No, by a miracle, by a miracle." And he sent the picture of his helmet. Now, the helmet of an army helmet goes down till maybe up like a centimeter or two above the ears, because it has to sit on the person's head, on the soldier's head. And he shows the picture in the way. I think I even have a picture. Yeah, you can see in the picture. Maybe I hope you can see it in the camera. You can see in the picture the place where the bullet hit is literally a centimeter before the helmet ends. Literally a centimeter before the helmet ends, if you can see it. It's shocking, shocking. And the mother said, "I know for sure that it was the Rebbe that saved the life of my son, just like you said." Rabbi Kupchik told her, you cannot leave this go. You have to convince her. You have to tell her that it's important for your son's life. He didn't even know what he was saying then, to the extent that it's going to chas v'sholem happen. And this is where the younger brother, he's right before bar mitzvah age. He's starting to learn how to put on tefillin, and he said that he's going to bli neder, put on tefillin every day. But these are the miracles that we're encountering, not once a month or not once in 3 months. And Hashem should help that it should be finished. Enough. We need Moshiach now, immediately. But this is on a regular daily basis and not once a day. We're talking about soldiers that are encountering the enemy every moment of the day. And it's not only in the south, it's also in the north, Rahmanul Islam. And we're only finding out about things that happened after the fact. And I don't even want to speak about things that are Rahmanul Islam, the opposite of goodness, so that we should only cultivate goodness in the world and only positivity in the world. But this is what the whole concept of a Jewish nation, a chosen nation, is all about. We have a different message for the world. And we're out there in order to go into to teach the world what has to be done, how people should and have to live their lives according to Torah, according to mitzvahs. Not only Jews, we're talking about the 70 nations of the world. This is the way it was from the beginning of time. When Avram Avinu came on the scene, no one believed in a monogamous one Elokim Echad, one God. And all of a sudden, Avram Avinu repeated his message again and again and again. And now the majority of the world believe that there's one Hashem. We're not talking about the people that don't believe or whatever, but this is the majority of the belief is one Hashem. And when we're talking about living a life which is without killing, without stealing, these are things that are coming from the Torah, and these are things that the 7 Noachide laws. People originally, in the times of Noach, people killed and people stealed, and it made no difference to them, because this is the way they lived their life. But when we came again and again and again with the message, so people started to open up, people started to understand, people started to see. And even science today, when we're talking about science, which is totally in its foundation based on atheism, to the extent that that's what they claim, today, big popular scientists are coming and bringing conclusions that definitely there has to be a higher authority. There has to be a Eibishter in the world. There has to be a Hashem running the world. So there has to be someone running the show. And these are the conclusions, not of of frum observant Jews. We're talking about professors that were atheists. At least they thought they were atheists until now, and all of a sudden everything's changing. This is what we have to go and we have to broadcast. And if it's not heard the first time, it's going to be heard the second time and the third time until finally it's going to be acknowledged. And this is the bottom line. This is the way we bring Moshiach to the world. This is the way the Rebbe tells us we have the revelation of the third and the eternal Beis HaMikdash, and the true and the complete Geula, the redemption, and the revelation of the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach, Teichef Umyad Mamesh. Yechi Adonenu Morenu V'Rabbeinu HaMelech HaMoshiach Chai V'Kayam Le'elam Voed.